Have you ever pretended that you were blind and tried to maneuver yourself around a room? Well, I've done that, and not with very good results. I came up with some bruises and scrapes because I couldn't remember where the furniture was or the obstacles were, and it was really disorienting. Do you know of someone who's blind and can't see? It can be very frightening. You know, a few years ago, well, I guess many years ago, really, there was a movie called Wait Until Dark. It starred Audrey Hepburn. And there was a man that was after her because she had some evidence against him and he wanted to kill her. So late one night, she heard someone trying to get into her apartment. She knew it was him. So she went around and she knocked all the light bulbs out, just crashed them and smashed them, because she knew that if she did that, when he came in and tried to turn on the light, he would be in the dark just the same as she was. Well, it was a really scary movie, but it brought home to me the limitingness, the blindness, and how scary that can be for someone. In our scripture today reading, it's from John, the 9th chapter. And Jesus is traveling with his disciples. And it says, he went along, he saw a man blind from birth. His disciples asked him, Rabbi, who sinned, a man or his parents, that he was born blind? Neither this man nor his parents sinned, said Jesus. But this happened so that the work of God might be displayed in his life. As long as it is day, we must do the work of him who sent me. Night is coming when no one can work. While I am in the world, I am the light of the world. And having said this, he spit on the ground. He made some mud with the saliva, and he put it on the man's eyes. Go, he told him, wash in the pool of Siloam. So the man went, and he washed, and he came home seeing. Now this is a man who had been blind since birth. He had never seen his mother's face. He had never seen a rose bloom. He had never seen the beauty of a sunrise or a sunset. Or he had never seen butter melting on a hot roasted ear of corn. He had never seen any of the things that you and I see every single day and take for granted. His life was full of darkness. He couldn't see if someone had moved a chair. He couldn't discern that there was danger ahead of him. The belief at this time was that if there was an illness or some calamity that happened to one, that it was because of some sin that they had committed or that their parents had committed or an ancestor. Can you imagine how horrible it would be to be blind, but then in addition to that, it was some sin that you had committed or something that your parents or others had done that you had found yourself in this terrible kind of situation? What a hopeless and despairing situation and feeling that must be. But here comes Jesus, and he had compassion on this man, and he opened his eyes. Can you imagine that when the man washed that mud off of his eyes, how jubilant he felt, because suddenly there was a whole panoramic of world out there for him to look at, for him to see and to enjoy. We live in a world that's blinded by sin. Because of our sin, and we sin daily, every one of us, we deserve any punishment that God might prescribe for us. We're in a hopeless and despairing situation. Sin seems so appealing that it blinds us to the danger of missing out on spending eternity in the presence of God. But then came Jesus. Jesus looks upon us with compassion, and he saw a world lost in darkness of sin. And through his death on the cross, he has freed us from that darkness and brought us into his light. As the blind man was able to see, through Jesus' eyes, his light, we can see the world differently too. Where once we were blind to the needs of others, we reach out to help. Where once we did not look to God for direction, now we seek it. And where once we were blind to God's truth, now we live in it. And where once we were lost, now we are found. And we're free to tell others living in darkness about Jesus and Jesus' light to the world. Jesus said he is the light of the world. And may Jesus' light fill your world today.